Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Today is July the 14th, 1442 on the ancient moon calendar, 1443 on the ancient sun calendar, and 2022 on the Greco-Roman calendar. All rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity. This is a sovereign, living, ancient Article 3, Moorish American, Al-Moroccan court action. We are the sovereign living justices in Capitis Diminution Nolo, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. I am sovereign living justice, Pauline Denise Ritchie, and my free chosen sovereign appellation is like to Jure Bay. Both are in Capitis Diminution Nolo, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. All Moors are the original indigenous, sovereign, ancient Al-Moroccan, Moorish American ascendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites and Canaanites. Our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves, for we are the people who are the original indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient empire state for Morocco. We are the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government. We are Washington District for Columbia, which is an ancient district. We are the Universal Moorish American Consulate and the Article 3 Moorish American Consular Court. We are peace. We are one nation. We are one state, one empire, and one God. We are also the World Court for the whole earth. We hereby accept our sovereign ascension and exercise all sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time. So on the last call, someone brought up something about the grocery store. And we want to continue manifesting the viability of our Moorish sovereign delarium and also our merchant cards. So we have been saying to the Moors in each of the territories to please put the Constitution on the public record for your territory. Please do that. And we're going to show you why that needs to be done with regard to grocery stores and delarium. So in my research this week, I just decided to look at the basis of the operations that grocery stores do. And so I went on to a website, and I went to one of the grocery store manuals because I just wanted to see what is it that they do that we need to know about. Because I know, and we all should know, that in every manual, in every corporate manual, no matter what industry it is, there's something in it that says that we can do the things that we intend to do, such as governing the resources on the land, in every one of them, in every manual. And that's why it's important for us to look in both corporate manuals, in terms of employee manuals, and also operational manuals. So I went to this manual. It is this manual is for Albertsons grocery stores, Fred Meyer grocery stores, QFC grocery stores, and Safeway grocery stores. It is an agreement by and between the union and the Allied Employers Incorporated. So we know that neither one of these groups exists unless the Moors had given them permission to do what they're doing. And that had to do with us giving them a particular ability to operate. So I went through the manual. Let me make it a little bit bigger. And there are so many things in this manual that we need to look at and activate that and the way that we activate things is we see what it says, and then we put it on, we write it ourselves and put it on the public record. So this manual here, I was just going through it, and of course, the ancestors made it clear what we really needed to be looking at. So let's go to page 34. Out of all of this, the things that are going on in this manual, page 34, it says it is a letter of understanding. Well, that means they're standing under something, okay? What are they standing under? Grocery stores are using the most favored nations clause in order to operate. All of them are. Where does most favored nation come from? That is a designation that we gave the United States. Not the United States Corporation Company, the dead one. We're talking about the living United States, which we're the original United States. All grocery stores. And when you start talking about nation status, who are you talking about? You're talking about us. You're talking about our authority. So as I read this, and again, all I'm thinking about here is us doing commerce, us doing things like using Delarium to get the things we need, using merchant cards to get the things we need. So I read this, and it's as clear as day that what we're doing is absolutely making it so that we can use our Delarium wherever we go. So let's look at this, what it says here, so that we can point some things out to you about Delarium and about the things that we're saying put on the public record. Put the documents on the public record. It says here, this letter of understanding is by and between Allied Employers Incorporated on behalf of its members and UFCW Union Local 21, and it should be considered as incorporated by reference as part of the collective bargaining agreement. Let me say this, anytime you start talking about a union, you're talking about the Moors who came into these companies and started working to improve our own vast estate, and then us as employers, because we're the, you know, they back in the 40s and 50s, they always talked about companies that were employee owned. Well, they were talking about the Moors. That was hypothecated, and subrogated. There was an attempted subrogation and usurpation with regard to that, but they were talking about us. We own all resources on the land, all of them. And so UFCW, I actually had to look that up. So let me look it up right now. I know it's Union for something, UFCW. United Food and Commercial Workers. United Food and Commercial Workers. That's everyone in the commercial, here you go, Empress. I apologize, I meant to put this in the chat immediately. My apologies, Morris. And this, the link to this will go under the video on YouTube at Light to Jure Bay channel. So I think I'm going to just turn my camera off. So let's look at this and see why it's so important that we tell everyone where they are. It says here, should the union, now this is the same union that's spoken of in the Constitution, Morris. In order to form a more perfect union, that's what we're talking about here. It's the same union. Make no mistake about it. That's why they have the word most favored nations here. It says, should the union at any time after the date of this agreement enter into a renewal agreement or any extension thereof covering any grocery stores within the geographic area covered by this agreement. There is the constitutions. This is where the constitutions come in at Moores. We need to tell them what geographical area they're in, because they don't just exist on paper, because we've already banned that piece and we put them on the land. That's what the constitutions and the county charters do. It says the geographical area, because see, paper by corpses and corporations is not a geographical area. And that's why it's been so important for it to be made clear to us that corporations only exist on paper. And then when you bring the Moors into it, and there's a union that's formed, then automatically, by status, everything is landed. It goes straight onto the land. So we have to tell them where they are in order for these grocery stores to even operate. And more, again, all law is specific. Some people feel like we don't have to do the things we're doing. Oh, yes, we do, because that's part of governing. That is why it took millions and millions and millions of persons pushing paper saying, I work for the government, I work for the government, and all they did all day was let paper go through, and people were signing things and typing up things and putting things in order. It's going to take us doing that in order to properly use and access this estate. Yes, that's, oh, Empress Tyler, that's good. She said that's red tape. Why do you think the tape is red? Because of our flag. Come on. And because we autograph in red. And what does tape do? Tape adheses. It sticks things together. Now, we're not contracting with them. We're giving affidavits. Because, see, when we put this on the public record, we're going to do it by affidavit. This book, and we can just pick these portions out of this manual and tell them, go look at your manual so that you can see that the geographical area that you're in is ancient Morocco. It's ancient Morocco. And because that geographical area, just one moment, is in ancient Morocco, because it's in ancient Morocco, then the Constitution and the treaties, all day, every day. Constitution, treaty, county charters, and who's the government of that? The Moors, all of us. And who gets to determine what the methods of exchange are? We do. We do. So again, who knew that a grocery store was acting under most favored nation clause? Who knew that? And when you go back and look at the treaty, and you go back and look at the Act of Algeciras 1906, and you go back and look through these documents that we've placed on the public record, you will see most favored nation clause, and also the 1954, 52, 54, 56, the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, trials and documents that they put out stating who has most favored nation status. And in all of that, we get to say who does that. That's why it's important for us to be the author of these documents, because that makes us the authority of them. We get to tell them, okay, what that means. Even with regard to, oh, this is good. I see something in the chat here that's talking about King County and property taxes and all of that. Where's the property located? We need to tell the tax assessor where the property is located. And when we tell them where the property is located, we can use Delarium to pay quote-unquote taxes, even though we're not taxed. But how we do that is up to us. I like that this is being pointed out because where is Pauline? I'm here. I'm on the land. And there is absolutely nothing on this land that has anything to do with the arrest or anything like that of the Moors. But we Moors have a job to do. We have to tell everybody where they are. We have to tell everybody where they are. That is going to change, that changes everything when we tell everybody where they are. And we can't just tell one of them, we got to tell all of them, and then we got to put it on the public record because they're minors, they're children. You have to keep telling them over and over. Okay? Now, when we state where everything is and who we are and all of that, then what happens? Let's read the rest of it so that we can see exactly what happens when we do that. It says, within the geographic area covered by this agreement, based upon a settlement, that's a financial term, of new terms negotiated after the date of this agreement, which are more advantageous to such grocery stores, the employer party to this agreement shall be privileged to adopt any such settlement in its entirety, provided the employer has sent written notice to the union calling the matter to its attention. We are the employer. And the only reason they use the word privileged here is because we didn't write this. We need to write it and say it is the right of us as the employer to state the geographic area and to place on the public record what the agreement is all about by affidavit. Okay? This is how, now, when we do this, as we do this, Moors, what we do then is, in that same affidavit, while we're doing all of this, we want to bring up, here, let me put it on the screen. We want to bring up, just one moment, I'm going to turn my camera off for a minute here so we can see the documents. Okay, so now let's go back to the document here and put that on the screen, because this is what we want to pay close attention to. As you're doing these affidavits and your merchant card is manifesting, then you can add this to it. I want to thank Empress Dorothy Home for bringing this up. We started looking at the universal commercial codes, and they're universal only when we rewrite them by affidavit and add them to our affidavits in red and all lowercase letters and then in blue. So when we put this document in blue and it starts talking about tender of payment, then this 3-603 tells us that delarium or discharge. That's what it's saying here. It says either you can accept the delarium that the Moors give you, or you can discharge the debt, however you choose to do it. And we, as the employer, choose to accept delarium. It says here, let's go straight to B. Well, we can look at A. It says, if tender of payment of an obligation to pay an instrument is made to a person entitled to enforce the instrument, the effect of tender is governed by principles of law applicable to tender of payment under a simple contract. A simple contract is just an affidavit from the Moors, because the original contract is automatically the Constitution. It's the Constitution. Just one moment, because a little something has switched up here. Okay, we only want one thing showing. So the Constitution is the original contract that everything is attached to. So we don't have to contract with them. All we have to do is put affidavits there, quote the Constitution, where gold and silver is concerned, and where appropriations by law is concerned. Both of those are in Article 1 of the Constitution. And then we talk about, we can add any other subsequent codes and statutes that we have elevated up to the status of law. Just one moment. I'm trying to get this document. Let me get this document on the screen. Okay. So tender of payment, and then look at B. If tender of payment, let me make it a little bigger. If tender of payment of an obligation to pay an instrument is made to a person entitled to enforce, the instrument and the tender is refused, there is discharge. If tender of payment is refused, there is discharge. So when you go to the grocery store, you take your delarium and you take a copy of a lien, and you take your status, your ID, and over the next few days and weeks, we're going to be giving you documents that you can take with you that come from the heads of the custodial hierarchy. We already have them. We're going to put them out over a period of weeks, because there are quite a few of them that are being given to us. So, Moors, be patient. This is the part we have to do is keep our heads about us, because the one thing that we don't want to do is we don't want to do what the children of Israel did, and we're not going to do it. Where when they got and you know, those are allegories, but it speaks a lot to the consciousness that as we access the estate, that we stay level-headed and cool-headed and think about the future and think about our heirs and think about what we need to do with these resources that are available to us. We need to be building the empire and making sure that our courts are up and that everything that's coming for that we're accessing, that we add a component of succession to it. Succession just means, are we making it so that our heirs can do the same thing into perpetuity with regard to the estate? That is what we're doing by being able to access these resources that we're about to access. And then the complaining. We can't complain about what's going on and if things are going slow and things like that. If you feel the need to complain, go do it in the mirror, please, because that is actually where the complaining is best heard. So, and that goes for me too. So I'm not just talking at anyone, I'm speaking specifically with regard to all that we're accessing at this time and the things that we're going to be showing you here coming in the next few days and weeks. Sunday is going to be a very specific, important meeting that we have on Sunday, because we're going to begin showing the documentations that we have with regard to that we've been shown coming from the hierarchies of the custodians. So that's why we're saying, please put the documentation on the public record, please. Put it in red first, and then you can pick the ones. Now, for those who are really wanting to just go full force, you can put all the documents in red first and then turn around and put them all in blue. But for those who are wanting to just not spend as much time because of, for one reason or another, if there's some type of something where you need to take the time to process, then put them all in red and then cherry pick the blue ones and put the ones that are necessary in blue, such as the fiduciary document. The fiduciary document is going to be so important for what we're going to be showing you on Sunday. So important. And when you see it, it's just, it's a wrap. And no one that we demonstrate will have the authority to say no, because they will be hearing from the ones that they considered authority initially. knowing that their authorities answer to us. So if tender of payment is refused, there is discharge. To the extent of the amount of the tender of the obligation of an endorser or accommodation party having a right of recourse and remedy is the same. Remember, we said we read earlier in the Uniform Commercial Codes. We were reading about remedy. Well, I want to show you something about fiduciaries, and I'll just read it to you because I can't seem to locate on the American Bar Association website where I initially saw it. Fortunately, I put it in a document, and let me just read to you where our right to remedy comes from. Just let me pull that up really quickly. Because remember, Morris, we have, let me just go right, bear with me for just a moment. Okay, so let me read to you where remedy comes from and who has the authority to give the remedy. We read in the Universal Commercial Codes about remedy, but I want to point something out to you that is standard law by asking a question first. And what we'll do is open the table and just hear from you with regard to the question, because it's important that we get these precepts as we start looking at what's happening. Okay. I'm going to put the meeting in mute so that way you can *6 and unmute yourselves with regard to the question. The question is, what happens when someone dies? Because, see, I'm going somewhere with this that's going to lead all the way back to what we're saying. What happened and why we have the authority to provide the remedies that we're providing for ourselves. What happens when someone dies and they don't have a will? How are things taken care of?
Islam.
This is Noble, Izine.
Yes.
When someone dies...
Oh, goody. Is Pauline going to go to the grocery store?
Go ahead, Nobility.
Yes. When someone dies, if it's say, for instance, if they died in the hospital, the doctor will issue a certificate, and at that point, it is submitted by way of the mortuary. When they come to pick up the body, then they will receive a copy of that document, which was signed by the doctor. Then that mortuary turns around and files that document to get your credit from the state, as opposed to you walking taking that same document and getting your own credit through Institute Trust.
Wow. Wow, Nobility. Now, Moors, just think for a minute. Thank you so much, Nobility. That is just...
Doing a demonstration?
You're welcome.
Pauline, are you going to the grocery store?
To us. That absolutely makes complete sense to us.
Islam?
With regard, yes, Islam.
When you're done, you don't have anyone, you can populate the state also.
Say again, nobility?
If there's no one around, you can populate the state. So you go to the state.
Hey, Angel Bay, did you get your free conveyance yet?
Right there.
So the state sees all your assets, all your properties, all your belongings.
Yes. Yes.
And then divide it amongst the corporations.
Yes.
They have your corporate contract.
Listen, the state is providing remedy for themselves with regard to the property because the property cannot stay abandoned. It cannot remain abandoned. And if they don't have, listen carefully, Morris, if they don't have something in writing, that's why these documentations are so important. And that's what we do, just documentation. The death certificate has to be done, Justice Amos, yes, and that's something that we're doing and are putting into circulation. It says their estate is seized by corporate bank. Yes, because they know fiduciary duties. They know fiduciary law. Now, what happens when someone's bankrupt?
Islam, is it the similar ways of going about it as far as the certificate being issued? I mean, because it's all a certificate, because that's all they can transact with, because the money that what they was using is not even real anyway, so the only thing that had any more weight than that would be a certificate or a bond.
Yes. So it's important you use the word bond, Empress, because that word is important simply because if there's no will and someone dies or someone is bankrupt, then everything reverts back to the oldest bond known to man. And that is the geographical bond of where are you? Where did this originate? It originated on the land with the people. That's why the people are the government, and the people are the state. The state gets to determine what happens when someone is bankrupt and when someone dies. This is how we do it. Because see, anyone who steps up, such as a coroner, a medical examiner, a doctor in a hospital, anyone who steps up and says, okay, this person is dead and we have to do something about that. Well, they are automatically making themselves the fiduciary because they feel like they have the right to do that. And according to fiduciary law, if there's nothing written and no other living being claims that, then the state does. The state does. And so, yes, Islam.
Well, that was similar to what we had said before, earlier, when we were speaking about treaties, and also when we were speaking about the land when when it reaches maturity on the contract that is, then it goes back to the original one who issued it, which would be the land. And so so I did an affidavit today, right? And I stated we are the land. No, I said birthright. And I remember Taj had said right in ancient time meant land. So our birthright and land are synonymous. So by birthright, by the definition of that, is us, it's the land.
Yes. So this is, yes, Islam, Empress.
And also I would think if we call them to come and tell us that the the person is or the being is pronounced dead, we allow them to have a claim. If we don't have our own processes in place, our own burial grounds, our own certificates, our own processes for ceremonies of that nature.
Yeah, and everything is already in place, and all we have to do is say it. All we have to do is say it, and they will do exactly as commanded. We're going to manifest that. We're going to continue to manifest that. So now I said that when someone dies or if someone is bankrupt, someone has to step up as fiduciary and begin to do things. The fiduciary first has to say they're dead. And because of my status, I can tell them what, I'm going to determine what happens here. Okay, that's what fiduciaries do. And when the fiduciary does that, the fiduciary is essentially acting in that person's name, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is so important, Morris, for what we're going to show you on Sunday. The only reason we're not showing you today is because it's massive, and we want to lay the groundwork for Sunday.
Islam?
Yes, Islam Empress.
The fiduciary only takes part because he's part of the corporation, and the birth certificate is one of the main reasons for the fiduciary to step in.
Yes. Now, go ahead, Nobility.
If you have a trust indenture, that becomes like your death certificate also, or that your instruction becomes the will. The trust indenture becomes the will, and you're passing instructions for your family or your offspring.
Yes.
Creation of your death, even with bankruptcy also, it helps.
Islam, thank you, Nobility. We have to know where the body is first. We have to be able to tell where the body is geographically. And that's again, putting these constitutions on the public record is the first step, is one of the first steps in everything that has to do with us from now into perpetuity. Because that determines who governs what's going on. Okay? So now the fiduciary will begin going around, and the fiduciary is any of the others that are acting for this person or this bankrupt company, corporation. When a corporation goes bankrupt, and automatically fiduciaries stand and start doing things in the name of that company or that CEO or whatever, so that they can get everybody doing what they need to do. Think about what happened to us, hypothetically, in this theatrical presentment of called Earth and Land and World. Since 1913 and 1933, what were they doing? Saying that they were the Americans, right? We're the original Americans. Al-Moroccans, for those who, again, those words are, one is a derivative of the other. So the United States Corporation Company is bankrupt. Where are their fiduciaries? The ones that the debts are owed to. The creditors, where are they? Have they put their fiduciary document on the public record so they can start doing things and getting things and taking control of the assets?
No.
Yes, we actually have, but you have to do it too.
Islam.
Yes, Islam Empress.
One thing that I had said to the body politic in Providence, New York state, to do to their instruments is to, on the footer of the document, put a footer on there and put the pure trust and your own trust numbers on the bottom of there, so it's always tied to the trust. Yeah. I had recommended them that do that. Then I also am recommending that everybody do that, so it's not a question of being part of trust, it is part of trust, and so it's a reference there.
Yes. Or for those Moors who, you know, who want to add another layer to that, the Constitution is a trust. The Constitution is a trust document. And we told them that they don't even have a soul unless they're abiding by the Constitution. And that's something I heard from them, that the Constitution is the soul of their nation, or their society, rather. Now, because we're the state and we're the nation now. But the Constitution is their part. And they don't have life without it. That's where all of this death came from, that we chunked and gotten rid of and sent on its way. So the fiduciary starts doing things in the name of the person. The doctor will transfer the body and put the name of the person on the document and say, okay, as if they have permission from this dead person to move their body from the room to the morgue. And everyone does exactly what they're told in terms of the documentation, because the doctor stood up as fiduciary. So the doctor is using the name of the person. That's what GMEI utility website is all about, for those of Moors who know about that website, where it shows that all these trusts all overseas, in Japan, Australia, everywhere, corporate, everywhere, all those people, all those persons rather, how they took our, okay, let's not say our, they took the United States Corporation Company's documents, Social Security card number and birth certificates, and they created all of this wealth with all of that. And we didn't know that all of that was going on while we were busy showing those cards and showing that stuff, showing driver's license. Soon as the driver's license was printed for one of the living Moors who didn't know they were a Moor, GMEI utility kicked in and things started being added to it. Someone was using that name. Someone doing business as a fiduciary went about expanding the estate of that name. And that's why people think they have an estate under that. They don't, the estate is not under the debt. It's under the creditor. So now that we know that fiduciaries do things in the name of whoever it is, well, our all caps name is a natural person. It's a living natural person for us. However, the dead one, that dead one is dead, period. And we don't even deal with the dead. We deal with the living. So the living all caps name is the beneficiary of anything that was created in all capital letters by the United States Corporation Company, the living one. We have to note that there's a difference between the living and the dead. We're going to keep putting that out there, because knowing that is the key to accessing the estate, as opposed to accessing debts and war rents and all of that other stuff. So the thing that I saw about fiduciaries on the American Bar Association website, which is actually, that website is filled with information that we need. Because who's the real American Bar Association? It's the Moors, and it was hypothecated and subrogated and used as a war instrument against us. So we had to fix that. And they've been leaned, I know many of you have leaned them out of existence, the dead ones. Okay, but the information. What I saw on there, it said, it is the fiduciary's responsibility to take control of, and then they put the word in parentheses, marshal, M-A-R-S-H-A-L. This is, they're stating that the fiduciaries actually initiate martial law. That's what we're doing. We're putting everything under martial law. It says it is and again, we're peacekeepers. We're not at war with anybody. That's what martial law is about, is we're stating everything is protected by us and it is being governed by us, so everybody hold up a minute. It says it is the fiduciary's responsibility to take control of, marshal, all assets comprising an estate or trust, especially when a fiduciary assumes office at the grantor's or testator's death. The prerequisite to immediate access, and Justice Amos, you brought this up, it's almost like you read the document. It says the prerequisite to immediate access of certain accounts is an executor or a fiduciary providing a court affidavit of authorization and producing a death certificate. That's how you access immediately your accounts. Listen, just wait. We got this, Morris. That's all I got to say. Sunday, you'll see. You'll see now we have to lay the groundwork with this. It says, additionally, any person, and again, our persons are natural persons. We own them. They work for us. We're not persons. We have persons who work for us. Additionally, any person to whom the office of fiduciary or trustee of any estate is so transferred shall, for all of the purposes of this action, become and be deemed to be the trustee of the estate in lieu of the person from whom the office was transferred, who shall be deemed to have resigned that office. So it's an automatic resignation that we did of them. We resigned them and said, you're done. That's what fiduciaries do. And then they say, okay, now, this person, everyone who was under Bill Gates, this is what we got from Bill Gates, and you all have to go by this, and so we're going to enforce this because Bill Gates said that we are the fiduciary of Microsoft and all of its commercial assets. And we do that in writing. We give them that in writing. So we get that and we say, okay, Bill Gates gave us this in writing. Here it is. It has his signature on it and everything. Okay? And we do that for everything that we need on this land. Everything that we need on this land. So the Emergency Banking Act, it provides it says that the comptroller of currency, and this is Title II, it says that the comptroller of the currency, and we know who the currency controllers are, the comptroller of the currency appoints a fiduciary who shall take possession of the books, records, and assets of every description of such bank, and this is as we're taking control of the banking, and take such action as may be necessary to conserve the assets of such bank pending further disposition of its business. So the fiduciary document that we have been putting so much emphasis on, it is necessary, Morris, that you put that and the other documents, the 6 documents specifically on the public record. Name change and judicial proclamation, a lien on the social and the nom de jure that was issued by the corpses. That's number 2. A termination of all corporate contracts that were done by the corporation, the corpse, the United States Corporation Company, the dead one. That's number 3. Number 4 is a lien on the United States Corporation Company, the dead one, because we're the living United States. We're the organic, living, breathing United States. Okay, that's number 4. Number 5 is a court action. Number 6 is a trust document, and then the fiduciary document. And the fiduciary document and a trust document is the same, but it's important to put at least a proclamation of trust stating that, yes, we have a national trust. And you do all of those on Moorish government letterhead. Okay, and the letterhead will be on documents under this video on YouTube at Like to Jure Bay channel. So we, as fiduciaries, based on the law, we provide our own. It is our responsibility to take control of assets that belong to us because the bankrupt can't do nothing. That's why everything has essentially ground to a halt, because they can't do anything else. They can't. They're bankrupt. All of them. Every corporation, every grocery store, every business out there that we would go to and get something from, all of them are bankrupt. And they need fiduciaries. Amazon.com is bankrupt. It needs a fiduciary. And they have them. That's why we've been putting those documents forth on the public record and showing you how to put the fiduciary document in blue and put it in red first and then in blue, because we have to address all the dimensions. Now, our Grand Sheik has talked about the Exchequer's Chamber, in several different videos, and whenever I heard that, I thought, yeah, that's London over there. You know, that's what I thought. But I found something in the writings and in the research where each and every bank has been speaking to an exchequer club on this land. The Exchequer's Club has been giving statements to the Office of the Comptroller of Currency, and particularly speaking where banking is concerned. The latest, let's see, the last time in the records that I pulled up where I saw one of the banks having an Exchequer Club speak for them was January 12, 2005. The Exchequer's Club spoke to the Office of the Comptroller of Currency regarding banking regulation and industry actions and activities, knowing that they're speaking regarding how to proceed in bankruptcy. And there is a body, or there's a set of documents. There's a set of documents on any of the Federal Reserve Bank websites that are called Advance Notices of Proposed Rulemaking, ANPR. Advance Notices of Proposed Rulemaking. Those are the smoking guns with regard to the whole bankruptcy and banking piece. We looked that up, and it is where the Federal Reserve Board was doing court actions on the banks and asking the banks a series of questions. And they sent the same questions out to all the banks, and all the banks had to respond. They couldn't not do it. They all had to. And so you can go and look. Empress, Google it. Google it and see. It's called Advance Notices of Proposed Rulemaking. Okay? And when you look at that, first of all, the banks, and specifically Navy Federal Bank, Navy Federal Credit Union, the custodians in the office of. The custodians in the office of, every time they responded to the Federal Reserve Board, the custodians in the Office of Federal Reserve Board, the first paragraph that they always said was, Navy Federal is the nation's largest natural person credit union with more than blah, 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 billions in assets. They said that every single time in writing. that they are the nation's largest natural person credit union. So I'll go out and see if I can pull that back up and put the link. Yeah, it came straight up. Islam nobility.
Okay. Queen's the checker chamber or the Queen's checker chamber is also done in court.
Yeah.
The judges work with the Queen's checker chamber. That's when you pay dues to the court or you do time on the bond. So your time is being locked up, and the Queen's checker chamber collect on your bond as your serving time by trading it and selling it off to different markets or different corporations to be used.
Wow. There you have it. There you have it. And also, advance notice of proposed rulemaking is 14 CFR subsection 11.3. Now, rulemaking was not supposed to be done according to the Constitution. But because the fiduciaries, us, because we were asleep, they had to do rulemaking. So what did they do? A bunch of court actions on the banking industry, so that as we woke up, we could look at these things. There's a little bit of feedback coming from one of the lines. I'm not sure which one it is.
Islam. I'm sorry. I was looking up what you had mentioned, but what came up is advance notice of termination of child benefits. And that came up. It says your benefits will automatically stop at age 18 unless. And so 18 is the age where you were the creditor, and then as soon as you turn 18, you become in debtor status. So at 18, that's what it says. It says you are a full-time student at elementary or secondary level school as defined by the jurisdiction in which the school is located, or you qualify for childhood disability benefits. Wow. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, that's what that's why we've been called minors and minorities. It's because after the age of 18, we were still asleep.
It says for you to receive student benefits after age 18, you must complete the form student's statement regarding school attendance outside the United States.
Geography, there it is again.
It says take the form to school for school official to certify on page 4 the information you provide on page 2 and 3. Leave. Yeah, it's crazy. Like this is real.
Put the Constitution on the public record, and you're automatically outside of that United States that they're talking about there. Islam Empress. Islam Empress.
I made it. I'm gonna mute myself. I'm just happy I made another call.
Who is that, Empress? Wait a minute, let me see. Empress. Oh, yeah. Hey, Empress Mystery. I'm so glad you made it. I'm so glad you made it. I'm glad you did. Empress Mystery is she's just, oh boy. She's kicking some butt in her territory. She giving them what for. Okay, so I'm glad you're here, Empress. So now, Moors, again, in anything that has to do with benefits, it's always going to say something about where are you? Geography. Where are you? And so by putting, and we would encourage each Moor to put don't depend on, Yes, other Moors have done that. You get the Constitution and you put it on the public record so you can familiarize yourself with your rights that you're enforcing and standing on. That's just my suggestion. Yes, the Moors have put it on the public record, and you know, of course, we're going to share with each other all of that information, but it's best that we, you know, take the time to at least look at the Constitution for your territory so that you will know that it has everything to do with commerce and where you are, and that the people in the territory already know this. Who would think that a most favored nation clause would be in a darn grocery store manual? I would have never. That was the last thing I was expecting to see when I opened up the book. Most favored nation clause. What? For grocery stores. That tells you that they know who we are, and that when we show up with the proper documentation, that it doesn't even matter. Everything belongs to the Moors. And this Sunday we'll make all of that. We'll expand some more on it, because the documentation is monumental. And with us being where we are right now, whew. So let's continue. Thank you, Empresses, for that valuable information. Because when you talk about minors, we did the transfers for minors document. We put that on the public record. What does that say? That says that the state is in charge of everything that has to do with minors. So if there are sleeping Moors, we don't have to worry about them, because we're going to take care of them until they decide to wake up, because they wake up when they get ready to wake up. The same way we did. But in the interim, they have some remedy, because we're going to make sure we take good care of them. Those are our brothers and sisters, our kin, our family. We are going to assist and take care. And, you know, I'm putting some energy out there that the Moors that have decided that, oh, we don't want to hear anything they got to say. These Moors over here, we don't want to hear what they got to say. These over here, we don't want to hear from them and them and them. You know, that energy will leave, will go away and never return. Because I listen to everyone, even the ones that are saying, Light, you don't know what you're talking. Well, I haven't heard that, but even the ones who say, well, Light, I don't know about that. I'm not comfortable with that. I listen to them, because there's always going to be something in anything, even the temples. I listen to what the temples say. And then we use our sovereign holy filter to put things through. We don't have to turn anyone off. We can listen to all of it and put it through our holy filter, and our holy filter will give us what we need, you know, so that we don't go off into some place that, you know, is probably just going to help us anyway. You know, so with that being said, again, universal commercial codes, tender of payment, if the tender is refused, and let me say this about the tender being refused, we are the only ones who can refuse some tender. Even where grocery stores are concerned, all grocery stores are owned by the Moors. All of them, because they're operating based on the Constitution and Most Favored Nation Clause. Now, Most Favored Nation, if you go back into the 1952, 54, 56 ICJ documents, Most Favored Nation, the United States, the other one, was petitioning for Most Favored Nation status and got it. Okay, they got that. They were able to operate that way. But again, all they were doing was saying, but we're operating for the Moors, so we deserve Most Favored Nation status. And most favored nation is something that all the nations can have. You know, that status is a status that that doesn't, it's not just one nation, it can be any of the other nations. France had most favored nation status, you know, as a protectorate back in the 1950s. So what do we do now? Because we're the original indigenous sovereign United States, the organic United States, and the organic America, and the organic Al-Marak, and the organic land, and the Maghrib al-Aqsa, and all of the above, because we are organic there, we automatically have most favored nation on our own darn land. And I don't want to say darn land, but on our own land. So we're going to go ahead and show you the things that are coming in about that's coming from the custodians in the office of. Okay, so by way of the ancestors, actually. So again, anytime you see the word union, all they're saying here is they need affidavits from the Moors. And then what do? We quote UFCW Local Number 21, Letter of Understanding Number 8 at Most Favored Nations. And it says King and Kitsap counties, but anything that is good for King County, because we have chartered that. And then when we write this, we're going to put this in our document so it's coming from us, then it's good on all lands. But these grocery stores they have affiliates at other lands too. But if you look at any of the grocery stores in your territories, if you look at their manuals, you're going to see the same letter of understanding. Letters of understanding happen right when they first incorporated on the land. That's why we said your first oath is to the Constitution, because whenever you talk about nations, you're talking Constitution, supreme law of the land, treaty rights, all of that. They have known that, but we needed to actually, we have been called forth to look at the records, okay, to read the documentation, read the documents, and then put everything on the public record. Put it on the public record. Coming from us on our letterhead. Okay. So now, again, the commercial viability of Delarium is already done. It's set. It's already done. We just have to keep looking at the documentation and then keep moving in the manner that we're moving, which is a unified manner. And then we'll show you what has come in from the custodians in the office of, from everywhere. So now, are there any comments or wisdom with regard to anything that we have stated thus far?
Islam. Based on Section 3603, well, the numbers are growing and swelling with the Moors having children in universities and private schools paying tuition. Under this particular section, that can be discharged.
Yes, it sure can. It better be. Because tuition is a tax.
Correct.
But they have to tell the college where they are. They have to tell the universities, you're not existing on paper, a corporate paper. You are on the land. Here's the Constitution to prove it for this territory. And here's the county charter that you're in. We have to have a job to do, Morris. All of this is dependent on whether we do our job or not, and we're doing our job. We're going to do it. Not is not an option.
Islam. Based on this section, I don't see why we would need to send Delarium along with so stating the 3603. I don't see why we would need it because it's right there in front of them.
So
What
the
would you
tender
say?
has to be refused.
That's correct.
Now, I will say this about that, and I'm speaking, I will admit I'm being a little biased. The tender has to be refused. They're not going to refuse fiat, but who has that? They don't even have their own fiat no more because we said get that, take it away. So the tender has to be refused. Are they going to keep refusing and discharging? No, they're going to accept the dollarium or they're going to discharge the debt either way because it's not even their stuff. It's our stuff. We get to determine the accounting methods that we use and the exchange method. The tender has to be refused. Islam.
The House joint resolution also should show you that the discharge that from 1930s we had the right to discharge or that not necessary. That when they come about because the corporation created that they can clear, and the only way to clear is by us signing using our estate name to create promissory note to try to discharge that. But when they did that, they just created more because they only have as corporations, as business, not as living people. So that's why the corporation ended up being in this bad position because they create too much corporations that people can't make money.
Correct. And that's why we have suffered so and been lacking fiat because we're not dead. We were never supposed to be just rolling in that stuff. But we can roll in some dollarium and some liens and some, and our status. Yeah, it was never meant for us to be so wealthy that way in the dead sense, So again, the tender has to be refused, but they are now starting to refuse fiat. We know that. At many of the stores, they'll say, we don't accept cash, we only accept cards. So now let's move a little bit further down and look at some of the things that we talked about in the last call, because again, we're tying all of this together. In the last call, we were talking about the Georgia Guidestones and the 500 million, humanity being kept under the protection of the 500 million more that are at Earth. We mentioned how in the Georgia Guidestones have been misinterpreted as a nefarious depopulation scheme, but in reality, it pays homage to the fact that all of humanity throughout the ages has always been protected by the 500 million sovereign God since time immemorial, when the principles of the Guidestones are adhered to. Further proof of this can be found when we look at those doing business as Indians on our land. They are indeed Indians from India who are here as a reminder of who we are. The ancient Hindu religion has at the time when it had over 350 million gods that they worshipped. And I heard this from one of their gurus. Over 350 million gods, or somewhere around 350. And actually, he actually said 350 million gods that they worship. Well, that's the Moors. This has always been, and it will not change. Those 350 million gods are the Moors at North America, which is why the Indians are so protective of our ancient monuments, lands, rituals, and culture. That's where the name Indian came from. And that is why, our Grand Sheik has said that we're not Indians. No, we're not. We're not Indians. We're Moors. And again, any Moor who wants to call themselves an Indian, you're sovereign, so you can do whatever you want. So we're not saying that. We're not even bashing that. Because sovereignty is sovereignty is sovereignty. If you're sovereign, you're just sovereign. We don't contest sovereignty and the claims of sovereignty. Islam.
They also say Krishnas come from the indigenous valley, and Buddha come from Tanzania. They're all black.
Yeah, they're all Moorish. They have their origins with us.
Yeah, ancient Moor people.
Yeah.
And that's why they call it Indian, because he's from the indigenous valley.
Yes, Islam. And that's why those that were doing business because see, the quote unquote federal government put them all under the Bureau of Indian Affairs, right? Because they knew they came from India. They knew that. And so those from India who are here now and who've been protecting the monuments and the lands, the rituals, the culture, and those that have been living on the reservations, all of the reservations have natural resources on it that we can access, okay? But they were not allowed to access it. That's why there was so much poverty on those reservations. So I want to specifically take this time right now, and I'll try and do it with keeping my composure, to thank them for standing in the gap while we slept. Because, and we send our highest honor to all of the Indians on the land who have been doing their due diligence to ensure that our monuments and things remain well taken care of and that our natural resources are protected. We know they sacrificed a lot to do that, and we honor you for that. We honor you for that. They have sacrificed much to preserve our ancient knowledge. A lot of the rain dances and things like that we taught them, they preserved it. The languages, they preserved it, all of that. Especially when we look at the extreme poverty and substance abuse on the Indian reservations that they have endured. Here at this territory, we so honor them. We have many, many, many Indian reservations where they have casinos and things like that. The Puyallup Indians, we honor you. We honor all of the Indian nations here because you stood in the gap while we were asleep. And they know who we are. And even here at the reservations, they have Indian Moors with fezzes on, giant statues in front of the casinos here. And so we honor them. We gave the modern European hybrid specific instructions to withhold the wealth that's on the reservations from them. And that's why, you know, they had been petitioning to access the things on the reservation, saying that, oh, it's in a trust for us, but it wasn't in a trust for them, it's in a trust for us. And then we give to them. All of the nations of the earth are blessed through us. And we're awake now, we know that, and we're going to make sure that everybody's taken care of, okay? When we wake up, we knew we would properly state what happens with the resources and that we would thank them for their service. That is why every reservation is a trust. It is also why we were not to claim their status. They don't want us to claim their status. They have that status is for them, because there are specific instructions in our ancient trust for those who are under that status, the Indian status. They are here for us, to serve us, and for that we are grateful. We send our highest honor and gratitude to them for all that they have done to preserve our wealth and to honor us with their very lives, okay? And so now, having said that, that is kind of leading me into just a little something that I wanted to show. Because it has something to do with all that we've been seeing, all of the actors and everything that's been seen, and the control of the weather and all of these other things. An important fact to be noticed is that the goddess Shiva, and again, we're talking about Indian things here, and where Indians originated from. They originated from us, and that's why all of their gods and goddesses, if you see their original gods and goddesses and their homage that they pay to them, they all have locks. Locks like we have. The goddess Shiva on the Starbucks cup pays homage to us, the matriarchs, as she has locks and she wears a crown on her forehead and she has a 5-pointed star in the center. Okay, on her head. And she has her locks and her wide nose, wide flat nose. Also notice the crescent moon shape and star that she's wrapped in and emanating from. So this is our crescent moon right here, and that's the star. So this is absolutely 100% homage to the Moors on the Starbucks cup. Am I saying go out and buy a bunch of Starbucks? No, that's not what I'm saying, but I do like the taste of it. Disclaimer. But remember, Moors, we are the head of Starbucks. We're the head of all the corporations, and they've been operating in bankruptcy. Okay? This symbol is a celebration of our emergence from our sleep into our greatness. Okay? And she is actually emerging from this crescent moon with the star on her head and a crown therewith. Okay? And then I also wanted to, this brings me also again to thanking the custodians with regard, we thank the custodians in the office of CERN. CERN has been made, CERN is the Hadron Collider that sits on the Temple of Apollo. It's not really a boogeyman. We have nothing to be afraid of on this earth, okay? In heaven or in earth. We thank the custodians in the office of CERN for paying homage to us with this statue of us emerging from the portal Stargate with our locks clearly displayed. Those are locks. There are waterways and fire around the portal, so don't let anybody boogeyman this. This is actually, we thank them because it's homage to us. She has a seashell for her crown, and that seashell is a direct correlation to the photo that's on the cover, that was on the cover or featured in the Moorish, the Circle 7, where the emperor was carrying a matriarch from the sea. And that drawing has been recreated many times over the years. It's a drawing that we saw in one of the versions of the Circle 7, because there are several. And then Shiva is standing on an ancient leprechaun, and that's not a baby, okay? That's a leprechaun. Leprechauns are known for their magic, and this particular leprechaun that's here, this particular leprechaun opened the portal. That's why it has its hand on the portal. Opened the portal for the matriarch to come through. It was done by magic, okay? And again, now I want to show you one last thing about this, because we're removing the boogeyman from all of this stuff, because this stuff is all about us. Remember in the past I told you that the matriarch was actually the queen, the king. We spelled it differently. Just one moment. This is on the bottom of that statue, of this statue, of this matriarch coming through the portal. And what this is what it says. Just one moment. This is what it says. It says, "O omnipresent, Omnipresent means present everywhere. The embodiment of all virtues, the creator of this cosmic universe, the king of dancers who dances the Ananda Tandava. In the twilight, I salute thee. Presented by the Department of Atomic Energy, Government of India. This is from the Indians who know who we are. Okay, written on the bottom of this, showing the matriarch coming through the portal. This is not boogeyman stuff. This is a homage to the Moors. And even the leprechaun who is opening this portal and holding the portal open is a matriarch, a female. Now, some say that this is a male. Okay, say what you will. We know that all males, when they are first conceived, are female in our wombs. So I just wanted to point that out because we're talking about Indians and how we honor them. And we want it to be known that they have honored us the whole time as well. So when you talk about Indian stores and all of that, we need not be afraid or ashamed or anything like that of, you know, of anything that has happened, because they already know our story. They know our story, we know theirs. They've been honoring us the whole time. The Hindu religion is all about the honoring of the Moors. That's why they have so many gods. And their gods have different powers and supernatural powers and, you know, many arms on Shiva, because Shiva can do so many things at once. That is a paying homage to our sovereignty and how we can be the fiduciary and the treasurer and the president and the postmaster general and all of that all at once. And their way of expressing that, this is their way of expressing it, is to show that there are many arms. And then that is also paying homage to the long arm of the law, which we are. They know we're the law. So we want to, you know, as we are accessing the estate, we want to pay, not pay homage, because we can't pay homage to anyone, but we want to show gratitude to those who have served so well on our vast estate, because they've done an awesome job of assisting with regard to this whole estate. And we serve too in a public capacity. I do. I consider myself a public servant for the Moors and for all, really, because in government, that's what government is. So we're returning the favor now by making sure that everybody's taken care of, making sure that no one is being, you know, mistreated or anything of that nature with regard to being the real law enforcement and all of that. Okay, so we know who we are. Are there any questions or comments of any kind with regard to any of the things that we have brought forth here on this particular congressional meeting, or anything that any of the empresses brought forth in the meeting as well?
Islam.
Oh. Go ahead, Nobility. If you're speaking, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Well, it was written that the word Allah basically is feminine.
Yes, it is. It is.
Yeah. So I was thinking also that going back to the de facto corpse, birth certificate. That birth certificate is basically preferred stock. It's traded on the international market every day in the moorishe name, individual so-called names.
Not anymore, but I know what you're saying.
I know, not anymore, but there was in the past, right?
Yes.
That's what they was doing, yes.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. That happened, and, you know, we all put a stop to that, all of us. Liens, see, when we first started doing liens, people were saying, well, I don't see them stopping doing nothing. They haven't stopped. They were trying to figure out, how do we stop this? So they said COVID, and it stopped everything. We actually had to give them time to figure out how to do what we told them to do. Some wanted it to happen the day we said we done liened them. You got to give them time to think through, because you know, we're waking them up while we're waking up, you know. And we're wide awake now, and so are they. But it took them a minute, because they actually, let me tell you, they actually had to go all the way around the world. There's a little bit of noise coming from one of the lines here. They had to go all the way around the earth and meet with everybody and say, how do we shut down the markets and everything, because the Moors they're awake and they've said they're ready to do what they do. We got to shut everything down. How do we do that? Oh, okay. We have this plan here that's been set aside for 20 or 30 or 40 years, and it worked back in the 1930s. Let's just say it was the, you know, because in the 1930s it was the Spanish flu, where everybody was wearing masks and everything shut down. So they said, we got this plan here. Let's put this plan into place, and let's just look on the back of a Lysol bottle. I saw something that said coronavirus on the back of there, so let's just call it COVID, coronavirus, because it will symbolize that the crown is here, the same crown that you see on the Starbucks cup, and the same crown that we've always worn the day we were born. Justice Michael asked, will the Mississippi Territory Constitution be on Facebook? Empress Helen, did you want to forward that to, we're going to put them all on the public record also, but Justice Michael, I would encourage you to look at the Mississippi Territory Constitution and put it in blue for yourself. I would just encourage that. But yes, we are going to put, they're all going to be on the public record, and many of them are on the public record now. Because before you send it to us, go ahead and put it on the public record with your autograph on it. Okay? So, lastly, let me say that I want to thank everybody who, we're on day 3 of our fast today. And Justice Sheik, who's looking for money? Because we're the only ones with real money. Delarium is the real money. That other stuff has been fake the whole time. And that's what bankruptcy... You can't really say that fiat is money, because they've been operating under bankrupt status. Yeah. And just take a look at the advance notices of proposed rulemaking questionnaire that they sent to those banks, and where they mentioned bankruptcy real quickly in there, because they know they've been operating under bankrupt status. And this is something they were not going to put on no public record and tell everybody to look at. Islam, Empress.
Bankruptcy is not good for any.
Emperor. I'm sorry.
It's not. Bankruptcy is not good for anyone to claim, because then they do want you to claim bankruptcy in enough forms of ways, so they can try to create another way of surviving.
What is not good to claim? I didn't understand what you're
saying. It's not good for us to claim bankruptcy under their corporation. We just give them other ways to create different notes for them to survive because their corporation already done it.
Go ahead, Ability. No, go ahead.
Their corporation already done it.
Yeah.
So there's no way for them to get any status, or there's no way for them to create any currency or anything to trade with. The Queen was sending their fiat note for them. Their fiat note already destroyed. There's no goal in the first place. That's how everybody get the fiat through America was go back to the economy at that point of time. So that's how the whole world ended up gaining fiat notes to circulate in the first place. So now it's being rectified and it's being destroyed, and all these certain things are being moved out their way. It's hard for them to create any notes, so they went into Bitcoins, they went into all kind of different ways to try to survive.
Yeah.
And COVID was just a way to say, there's no money. COVID was just another way to say there's no money. We need help.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah. That was just, they had to find a way to stop everything because, we said hold it. And we said hold it in 2018. So it took them, and then we kept saying, we said hold it. And 2019 came, and at the end of 2019 was when they started saying, oh, there's this virus that came about. When the Moors say, Moors, when we speak, the whole world listens. The whole world. And the whole earth. Because we created all of it. We created every bit of what's going on. We created all of it. So we get to determine what happens. With that being said, yes, I was as I was just stating, I want to thank everyone who fasted the 3 days, the full moon fast. And wasn't the full moon beautiful? It was so beautiful. I don't know if you all got a chance to get out there and see it, but it was, I put a short video clip of it in this territory last night. It was so beautiful. And the energy is just amazing. It's amazing. It really is. And then here, the weather has just been hot. I love it. It's been beautiful here. I hope it's been beautiful in your territories too. I know it has. So with that being said, again, we fast every month, the day before, the day of, and the day after the full moon. And so all who can fast with us, we had people telling us that they were fasting with us from somewhere everywhere. And so for that, we're grateful because that's putting us all on one accord even more so. And, again, if you don't feel comfortable fasting and doing just water only, this time I did water only the whole time. And I did sea salt and water. And let me just say this, if you want to get into an alkaline state really quickly, sea salt and water fast for really you could do it for 1 day. And your system will be so clean by the end of that 24 hours that it's just unbelievable. Because 2 tablespoons of sea salt will cause your body to eject anything that's not natural. Your body will literally eject with 2 tablespoons, because tablespoons are bigger, 2 tablespoons of sea salt. Your body will eject whatever is in it that's not natural. And if you do that once a month, your body will get cleaner and cleaner and cleaner, because each month that goes by that you do that, you're ejecting some of the older things that were in there since you were teenagers and so on and so forth. You're getting the tough stuff out. And then the next month, more of the tough stuff will come out until the tough stuff is not there anymore. And it takes probably about 3 months of fasting 3 days a month, which is not much. A 3-day fast once a month, and over time, your body cleans itself out and gets cleaner and cleaner and cleaner and cleaner as you go. You don't go back to the same, state that you were in previously just because you eat the rest of the days of the month. That 3-day fast is catching up with all of the things that have happened in the past. So it's catching your body up in terms of cleaning, the deep cleaning of your body out. And that sea salt, if you take 2 tablespoons of sea salt and drink a bunch of water, make sure that you don't have to go anywhere because you're going to be going to the bathroom quite a bit during that time. But it's worth it because our bodies need to be, really clean, and we want our temples to be clean so that disease stays away. We can do away with disease in one generation. It's done. This generation that we're in right now, we can do away with disease altogether for our people, for us, for everyone, really. And so what we're doing is we're looking at mass production of the sea salt, and we see how it can be done. It's so easy. It's already being done. It's just that the sea salt, I'll just show you. Well, we'll talk about it later because it can be a whole nother 30 minutes. But we have the resources already operating on our land whereby we can mass produce sea salt today if we send the documentation. So we're looking at sending the documentations to where we want the documentation to go so that those who are harnessing the seawater and they're throwing the salty seawater back out to sea and keeping the clean water. And because they're saying our towns don't have clean water. So we have a desalination plant here, and the desalination plants are ancient. If you look at the construction of them, they're all on the coastlines and they're ancient. They've been there. The one in California is so huge desalination plant. But they're using reverse osmosis, whereby we use osmosis to get the salt out. So, our ancestors put everything in place. We just need to speak to it. And there are desalination plants on all of the coasts, all of them. So we can all have massive amounts of sea salt for the healthcare industry, for the therapeutic industry, the massage industry, anything that's going to make, and for the food industry. We can start using sea salt for our food. We use it here in this household, and I'm telling you, it does not matter what you put something natural with, it's going to break down anything that's not natural in it. For example, I mixed sea salt in, for example, my coffee, because I love coffee and tea. And I put just a tad bit of sea salt in there. And any of the acid because it's the acid in the salt that in the coffee that we don't need. Okay, that has to do with how it interacts with our RNA versus DNA. And when you put just a drop of sea salt in there, you can see it does away with the acid, and the coffee becomes super smooth, really smooth. So there's so much that's manifesting for us as a nation and as the people that we are completely in control of, including, our divine health is a part of our estate. That's a part of our estate. And so let's keep going. The things I have to show you on Sunday is just
Islam. I want to go back to Section 3603 again. Yes. I was thinking probably we could utilize that because I had mentioned before about the UCC with the gentleman who was giving me copies of that back in 1975. I was thinking we could use this particular section to discharge mortgages with the lawyer.
Of course. Yes. Of course.
Yeah, the Moors can do it.
Not only discharge, because I was having this conversation with my brother who is my consul. He gives me financial consul. And not only can we discharge what is already here, but again, Morris, for us, it's not called debt. It's called an obligation. It's not called debt. Debt and death are the same. And we're not using dead entities to discharge obligations. And then anything coming in is called a reimbursement. So paychecks and things like that, reimbursement. Diallarium is a reimbursement to the Moors. It's a reimbursement. Anything that's going on, and that's the language that I found in the Treasury notes, in the Treasury notes from back in the day. When you look at how the Treasury was set up, everything that's going in, that's coming in, is a reimbursement, and everything going out is an obligation. So when we're writing these things like 3603, when we rewrite it, we, instead of calling it a debt, we call it an obligation of the Moors. So yes, we could do that. And then when you want something new, like a conveyance, what you would do is, can we please talk about this on Sunday? Because I have to show you, I have to show it to you, because you would not, it's so simple for us to do. Because we're the fiduciaries in bankruptcy, of a bankruptcy. We're not only the fiduciaries, but we're the beneficiaries. And so as fiduciaries and beneficiaries, each one of us can get a new conveyance at any time, or a new domicile at any time, but the documents need to be on the public record first, stating that you're God, period, because that's the ecclesiastical piece. That piece has to be put on a public record, because the spiritual realm is where all of the hypothecation came from. That's what the red documents do. The blue documents cover this realm. And so we'll show you on Sunday more about this fiduciary and how we have taken full responsibility to take control of or marshal the assets comprising an estate or trust, especially when a fiduciary assumes office at the grantor's or testator's death. Death and bankruptcy are the same thing. So I'll actually show you the documentation on Sunday, but we needed to lay the groundwork for that today with the things that we've shown today. And how even with the information that you have today, you can use that diallarium with the information that you have today. Islam Empress.
Is that much like a foreclosure? When you tell them that you're taking over the bankruptcy, so after a lien is placed, like, because I'm taking this from the corporate side. So if you bought a house and they lien you because you wasn't doing payments, and then after the lien, they foreclose on you, right? Isn't that how it would work in the corporate?
It is like that. In the corporate, it's like that. From our perspective, they were leaning their corpse, right? But in reality, the way we flip that, what you said is correct. The way we flip it back in our favor is we say, okay, no, corporation who is pretending to foreclose, we actually have the lien on you. And because we have the lien on you, we're confiscating the assets to include that domicile. But see, we had to get that fiduciary status in there, and being the fiduciaries of the bankruptcy. That's what the Emergency Banking Act of 1933 and the Bankruptcy Act of 1933 is all about. And House Resolution 192, all of that Everything that happened in 1933, we can look at it, and there are other acts and actions that happened in 1933 that I've not heard anybody mention, that all of the congressional records from 1933 need to be looked at. And when you see things in there from January to December of 1933, there was a whole bunch of other stuff that really hides these truths in it. And then you publish it yourself. But it has to be written by you. Empress, you're absolutely right. That's what they did. They were showing us how to take something. What foreclosure really is doing the closing on the property. Because, you know, when you go to buy it, there's supposedly a closing. Well, a foreclosure means that they've gone all the way back and preceded the closing to close before. And now what we're doing is saying, no, we're going to go back further than that to time immemorial and close.
Islam, Ashe.
Boy, this status is something. It's something. It's something. Our status is not to be played with. I'm gonna tell you that. It's not. Islam.
I would say that what you're saying is right on, because at the close of escrow, before you leave the escrow office, that particular house, commercial building, is paid in full by the mower. They don't realize it was paid in full before they left the escrow office.
Yeah,
that's how beautiful that is. But we didn't know.
Little did we know. And the whole earth has been looking at us like, boy, I'll be glad when the Moors wake up, because, woof. Islam nobility.
Even when you foreclose for a house and you sign for a house, you already done pay for it, so you shouldn't have many more loans on no mortgage because it's already paid by the time you sign for it. The essential loan clears your house.
Yes. Yes. And the thing about that is, it's already paid for until you sign that other document that says, I'll go ahead, it's already paid for, but I'll go ahead and pay this mortgage company twice. And you're agreeing to pay a mortgage company that's in bankruptcy. I did it because I was fast asleep when we got the domicile, not knowing that the people who were claiming to own it were bankrupt. So you already know what our documentation looked like. So we'll show you some more of that on Sunday. More. This full moon, the ancestors said, here you go, and they threw all the keys at us. They was like, here, take all of this. Islam.
To this date, no subject who believe they own their so-called dwelling do not own it, period. They do not own it. Although they're making a mortgage payment, but they do not own it.
No.
No subject owns any property. No subject can lawfully take ownership of property.
Not even my all caps didn't even own it, because I didn't know that my all caps had to be stated properly. But now my all caps does, because we know how to, because not because of the all caps, but because of who is in control of the all caps. The sovereign is in control of the all caps. And all Moors, that's the case with all Moors. They're all caps. You can have it reflected in the record that your all caps owns your domicile, free and clear. Over the next few days and weeks, we're going to show you how to do it, because we got to do it too. We still have to do that paperwork, but we've been so excited about, you know.
You're breaking up.
Okay, sorry. So
You're breaking up. Islam.
I am.
Yes.
One moment.
Really him, not us.
One moment.
I hear you, Empress, very well.
Yeah, you good.
Okay.
You good. You
You
good.
can hear on my end. Yeah.
Okay. Hold on. Hold on one second. Okay. So
That's better.
listen, that whole mortgage piece, we could have been had that, but our ancestors wanted us to dig in and then let them show us and keep our energy clear. That's what these fasts are all about. This fast, the ancestors gave us even more keys. I mean, they really did. So let's keep going more, because the access to the estate is here. It's here. But I will say this: you can't be scared. You can't be scared, and you got to stand on your square. But when you see what all is coming, say again, Empress.
10 toes down.
There it is. There it is. And it takes some matriarchs to say that one. 10 toes down. I'm with you, Empress. So, yeah. We're demonstrating, even as the ancestors are showing us this about domiciles and all of that. I have to demonstrate the same thing that I'm talking about now. The ancestors are showing us how to do it. We just got to do it. And, you know, we did do a demonstration on yesterday in alignment with the full moon. I'm just excited for us. We have so much coming our way. And you know, those Moors who, let me just speak specifically in conclusion of this call. For the Moors who have spent years using the fiat to get ink and paper, and using your resources to get the things that you need in order to state who you are and to demonstrate. You have so much coming your way, it's not even funny. Everything that you lost or that you thought you lost is coming back to you 100-fold, really, if you want it 100-fold. It's all coming back to you. Because what you were doing when you sacrificed to do that, you didn't know it, but you were paying tithes then to the temple and to our ancestors by using your resources to demonstrate your sovereign status. Those who spent time in the cells learning things, in the jail cells and the prisons, and those who are there now, listen, our time is now for all of that. Those who are in there can come out at their will. They can come out at their will. We actually had to do that in order to know that what we're saying is true. But we're going to assist in any way that we can, even there. Because really what all of this is for is to get all the Moors to a good place. And then they and we, all of us together, can assist those who are from other lands and who've been sacrificing all this time. We can assist them. So as we move through this, we have to keep empire first, even above our own individual needs. We have to keep empire first, and everything will take care of everything. We will take care of everything. No one will lack for anything. Period.
Islam.
Islam.
The corporations are stealing each and every employee's exemption. They're stealing it because the employee's not aware of it.
And the employees didn't have an alternative because we were asleep.
Yeah.
So now what do we say, nobility? We say Don't sign an employee contract anymore because they'll steal your exemption if you sign that. How about you give them some, if that's what you want to do, give them affidavits to state who you really are and tell them how things are going to go. You can look at what they put out there and then say, okay, I'm going to do this job right here. It says you advertise that the pay is this, so I'm going to put that in an affidavit and then I'm going to hand it to you. And the affidavit is acceptance for value of the benefit, and my benefit is not taxed.
Here's the law.
So you're right about that. Now, the reason that that's going to work is because we're the head of the corporations too. Because guess what? The corporations are not on paper anymore. They are on our land. Because we put the constitutions on the public record and the county charters on the public record. Those corporations belong to us. We're going to prove that. We're going to keep proving it because you all already know that. You know that already. And anything that we say and do on these calls is just affirmation of what you already know and what you've already been demonstrating. We just affirm that, yep, that's right. You're right. Moorishe, you're right. You're right about everything that you've been saying and doing. You are who you say you are. Nobody can argue. They better not argue. So,
Islam. The HR 192 also said that's one of the validities there, saying you can't pay for anything. HJR 192.
You can't because it's already ours.
Right.
So now, competent heirs know to take accountability for things. That's why we do the exchanges that we do. Because the estate needs to be measured. The temple must be measured. That's ancient. We have to keep track of things. We can't just willy-nilly harry-carry because we're not a wasteful nation. We keep track of things. And that's what the exchanges are for, is to keep track of the resources. But we're not buying anything. All we're doing is saying we're getting a reimbursement for what we already own. Period. That's what Delarium is all about, is a reimbursement. And when you give the Delarium to anyone, a motor vehicle dealer, or a realty company, you're giving it to yourself. And yourself does not accept fiat. Yourself accepts lawful money. That's why we had to do Delarium, because now that we've taken control of the corporation and put the Constitution as their first charter, and then you can see we just showed you where the corporations were doing business, talking about most favored nation status. They have to accept the right money, the real money. And that's a process, Morris. We're gonna keep showing you what the ancestors are showing us, because that's why they keep showing us what they're showing us, is so we can show you and so we can all do it together. We're all doing this together. And that's what I love about it, including this awesome fast that we're on. That's just, I love the energy from the fast, and I can feel your energy too. So with that being said, if there's nothing further, we will adjourn here, and we will meet again on Sunday. Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, to divine heirs. Islam.
Peace and grand rising.
Islam. See y'all on Sunday. And enjoy breaking your fast.
All right.
Yes, enjoy breaking your fast.
Peace and love.
And let me just add a little side note more.
Right.
Just enough.
Yes, Empress.
Keep your hand right.
I just wanted to add a little side note because I've been trying to get on this call for like a year now. And now that I finally made it, I wanted to say something to our best friend that is always on this call, rebutting things. If he thought you was full of it, he would think I was absolutely nuts because one thing about me, I wasn't putting anything on the public record. I was speaking everything out my mouth, and I was going head on with these people.
Yes, you were.
Now that I know that speaking it out my mouth, I went on and put everything on the public record because I know everything you said stands the same.
Yes.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. So, check your email inbox.
I will do that, Mystery.
Mr. L.
I'm so glad you made it, Empress. I'm so glad you made it.
I am so excited about this call. You guys don't understand it. Every time I try to get on here, they don't let me.
I don't know why, Empress. I don't know why, but I'm glad you made it. I'm glad you're on here.
I made it, yes.
Your energy is amazing. Thank you for kicking the doors in over in your territory.
Oh, yeah, and I'm going to keep kicking them in. That whole part. I got my kids, my children on deck, my heirs. We all on deck. So
Islam.
And it's not war energy, but it's stern energy.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for saying that. No, it's not war energy. We don't do it that way. Thank you for saying that, Empress.
Right.
That needs to be made clear. We are not at war. We are so at peace that it's just wow. And yes, it is stern energy.
Camp the other night, and I was lit. They let me out of there literally in an hour and 30 minutes.
Really?
That has never happened here before. I didn't even change my clothes off.
So say again, so Empress, what happened?
So I went to the POW camp because it was a little altercation with a neighbor of mine after other place I was telling you about back a couple months ago. So I went over there to take my children some food, and the lady was in my parking space. And I wasn't really mad about it, I just was like, could you move so I can back in and put all this stuff up? And, she wanted to take her no time and then try to be smart and all that. And I just like, please, because my side got milk. We got, perishable items in here. And she still was trying to be smart. So I started backing my car up. And I wasn't going to hit her because I'm a professional driver. So I kind of slid in, and they got mad, and they started talking crazy, and they hopping out of cars. But what they did is they called the policy enforcers, not knowing I am the policy enforcer.
Well, there it is.
I told them that we had guns, and we was pulling guns out. And like I told the policy enforcers, we don't need no guns here. But we do have a Second Amendment and a right to bear arms. So see, that kind of shook them. And I started talking about the constitutional law, and then they went on about their business for a minute and came back. And bum rushed in my house, okay? Bum rushed in there, trampled over my 6-month-old grandbaby, my grandchildren's mom, she's pregnant. They trampled over, they were trying to get to me. So I went out peacefully and went on in, but all the way there, I was talking law and who I was, how I wasn't going for none of this. Baby, by the time they got me under the thing, these women, because it was two women, and I started calling entities, and you ain't got no standing in law, y'all's time is up, it's a wrap. They got to asking me where can they buy my outfits from. That was such a cool logo. Well, you're going to be right out. I said, I know I am, because I should have never been here anyway. Do you know they said it was a traffic? Because Empress, I be getting pulled over by these people with no tag on my car, and I'm not ever putting it back on there. So they've been recording it. They've been recording it. And so when she says, well, it's only traffic, she said, well, traffic is legal. There ain't no traffic. I don't even have a driver's license. I have an Appalachian. Oh, she has a fake ID. Don't worry about it. When we got in there, them people didn't even look at me. They was like, send her over there, hour and 30 minutes. They was like, you can go back there and get your stuff. I wouldn't sign for the property, because I remember you said, don't sign for nothing. So when it was time for me to get released, they was like, you got to sign this because this is a promise to return bond, bond for traffic. I said, I'm not signing none of that. Oh, you can go on back up. I said, well, take me back up then. Oh, just let her out here.
Empress.
I know you will. And you have a great evening. So that was the world. When I tell you, my family was like, how did you get, because this usually 8 hours. You know, they got to keep you for 8 hours so they can process you and do all this
Not
stuff.
you, Empress.
That was a world-breaking hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah. Empress,
So it's real.
first of all, let me say congratulations on a successful demonstration of your status.
Thank you.
Clearly they know. And I will say this, too, about even the incident. So, because, you know, Empress, I like to look at all sides of the issue. Empress, when you're on the land, when others are, like, wanting to get mouthy and things, just go in peace and don't, you know, because it's really not worth it to just because of who we are. You know what I'm saying? When I say who we are, there's some other things that are going to come out where you're going to be governing people, and we can, and they're going to be mouthy. Some of them,
right? And
so we're gonna have to not, you know, we're gonna have to be like, you know what, we're not gonna get that way with you too. But you know, Empress, I'm glad that I know they can't keep you. I know that. Because you stand, period, and it don't even matter. You stand, you know.
Right.
I'm proud of you, Empress. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
I am.
Well, I'm glad you now. Had I not met like Jure Bay, y'all, I would be a corporate out here. Okay. I would be a whole corpse still.
Empress, no, you wouldn't. You wouldn't, because your spirit wasn't gonna let you stay corpse. You can't stay corpse because your spirit was not gonna let you. Not that strong spirit. No.
Okay.
But we honor you, Empress. Thank you so much, and I hope you make it to the other call too.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna do it this way because I can't get on the video. But I called and it just let me in. But if I try to get on the video, and see, I didn't know that. I didn't know I could just call. I was trying to get on there with all y'all so I could see all the emphasis and all the notes. And I'm going to dial this number and see if I can get, and it got on there. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're here.
Every time.
I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for being here. And thank you for standing, because y'all already know from one end of this land to the other that don't really end. Everybody knows the Moors are awake. Everybody knows. Everybody knows, and they are actually doing as commanded. That's the part I love. And a lot of them want to know, like, well, they want classes on this, because you know what I found out about these policy enforcers. They may have took an oath and everything, but a lot of them don't even know what they took an oath to. You know how you go and get a job and they tell you to sign and you got to read, and you really don't read it. You just go to sign it because you're so excited about the job. I think they was hard up to be a policy enforcer that they didn't even really read. They don't even know what kind of oath they took. So when you start talking about it, they're like, I need to learn that. Where did you learn that? Like, what? How you not know this and you took an oath and you bound by it? Yeah. Well, you know, at some point we are going to have to, you know, and they can watch the videos just like everybody else does. They can watch the videos and see and they do watch, just so that you're aware. They do watch. Whenever I get the numbers from
a few of them are put in their self and subject status. Like, usually they won't give me their card. Yeah. But the last time I got pulled over, about 2 weeks ago, without that plate, and I knew he was a rookie because they got me down in the system. Yeah. So don't mess with that black car with that bumper off. And I keep that bumper off because I want them to know it's me. I have nothing to hide. I'm the same one. My bumper's right in my backyard. All they need is 2 clips. But I want you to, since you've already been pulling me over in this conveyance, you're going to know my name. Yeah. So when I got pulled over about 2 weeks ago, he came back. I gave him my appellation. You know, they think they smart because they'll go and they can't run my VIN number because I got it covered up with a Safeway gift card. So he's like, well, what is, I said, it's not your business. You don't get to know my name. You don't get to know my, none of that. It's none of your business. Now go back.
Yeah, that's unlawful search.
That's
unlawful search. Yeah.
Exactly. And when they come back, they'll say, oh, okay, have a good day, Sheila Harvey, but he gave me his card. And see, they don't never do that. So that let me know he was putting himself in such a status.
Yeah. 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 And we're
like in the jail,
mm-hmm.
in the POW camp, none of them have their names on their badges no more. All of it says Sheriff, Police Department.
Mm. Well, you know,
so
they don't want the lien piece to happen. They don't want the lien piece to happen. But that just means they have to get in alignment, period. And that's why we say be proactive and lean all of that stuff before you have any interaction with them. Lean them first. And then recreate them or create them in your sovereign state. So, for example, if they were the City of Federal Way Police Department before in the dead status, you lean that one, and then on your fiduciary document, you put who they really are, City of Federal Way or Federal Way City Police Department, because they were not police before, they were policy enforcers before. You actually have the authority to make them a real police department where they know their darn job. And I can't say darn job, I won't say that. I'll take that energy out of what I just said. And I'll say they will know their job because they will have a constitutional CEO and police chief.
Right.
Which is you. And then we just keep speaking. We just keep speaking peacefully, Empress, peacefully. It don't matter what they say. We don't. Don't matter what they say. We still got to be the matriarch.
Because I've been at war, literally. Like, and I'm learning because I know that I was upset. Like, I have been. You guys don't know. Me and my children have been a target. I don't know if it's. I don't know. I guess we just too real for them out here. But anything we ever tried to get, they tried to take. Anything, and we're doing everything legally. So I don't understand why we being profiled. But see, now that I know exactly who I am, all that doesn't stop.
Yeah.
But they still, I'm still being tested, and I'm still passing tests, and I'm going to continue to pass them.
That's it, Empress. That's the key. That is the aha moment for all of us. Pass the test. It's a test. No, it's a test. And then pass it peacefully. And the ancestors, let me tell you, for example, if people don't get out of your way, like you were saying, they were in the way and you needed to get, all you got to do is get quiet and say, okay, ancestors, move them out of the way. And then turn around and peacefully say, can you all please, because I need to get in here because of this, that, and the third. And then let the ancestors do the fight.
Right.
Because the ancestors, nobody is more complete at getting folks to do what they're supposed to do than the ancestors. Nobody can do that better than that. Nobody can do that better than our ancestors. I've seen it many times. Repeatedly, I've seen that. We don't have to get loud with them.
I didn't even go into a holding tank when they had me in there.
Holding tank for what? They weren't going to hold you. They weren't going to hold you.
I didn't even go. You know how they put you in the part where the TV is? I was in there watching TV with my feet kicked up. The guy brought me a sack lunch. I said, I'm not going to eat that. Oh, you need to eat it because we're not giving this out until 6 o'clock in the morning. I said, I'm sorry, I don't eat that, but you can give that to someone else. He's like, oh, you're going to be here. I said, no, I'm not. And I've looked at all of them like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Okay?
Okay. And I know they probably be thinking, we got us a real live matriarch here. We cannot mess with her, and please get her out of here as soon as possible. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. When you know the law, Empress, it just is what it is. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Empress. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to go too so that I can prepare to break my fast. And I just love you so much, Empress, and I'm glad you made it.
Yes, I'm happy I made it too. I'll see you on Thursday.
The Empress's demonstrations were amazing, Empress. What territory are you in? And this is Karima Bay in Virginia territory. What territory, I'm sorry?
Which territory you say? I'm in Colorado.
Okay, Virginia.
She's at Colorado.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yep, Colorado territory.
Islam.
Beautiful. Now you see, Empress, you're at Virginia territory. Empress Mystery is at Colorado territory. I'm here. The land is covered already just with that. Not to mention all the other amazing, super sharp, super smart, super beautiful empresses who know the law and who know who they are across the land. It's a wrap.
Right.
It is a wrap. Seriously, it's a wrap. It really is. Yeah, we got this. So I'll see you all on Thursday. Thank you so much. Let's keep going.
Thursday or Sunday?
Sunday, rather. Yeah, Sunday, because today is Thursday. Right. Thank you, Morris. Thank you so much. Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Islam.